this way a little bit because I want you to be able to show up underneath the truck also. All right, so I'm going to start my pre-trip inspection today. Everybody, welcome to pre-trip inspection. Ken with KBC Transport Training. Welcome to pre-trip inspection training. So I'm going to start with the cowling on top of my truck. I want to make sure that it's properly mounted and secure. I'm also going to look at my clearance lights, make sure they're not cracked, broken, or missing. Make sure that they are amber in color. Next, my windshield. I want to make sure my windshield is not cracked, broken, or missing. No illegal decals on the windshield. Then I'm going to check the mirror brackets. I'm going to check all of my mirror brackets, the ones that are located on the side of the doors, the ones located on the side of the hood. I'm going to check the condition of my hood. Also, the condition of the front portion of my hood, which is my grill. I want to make sure that my grill is free from any kind of debris, any bugs or whatnot. Also, I'm going to check to make sure that my lights are not cracked, broken, or missing. I want to make sure that they are clear in color. I want to make sure that my turn signals are amber in color on each side, not cracked, broken, or missing. Also, I'm going to check my bumper. I'm going to make sure that my bumper is properly mounted and secure. And also check for my license plate that is clearly visible, properly mounted and secure. Also, I'm going to step back a little bit because I want to make sure that there is nothing leaking up underneath the truck. I also want to make sure no fluids are leaking. And I want to make sure that my truck is not leaning to the left or leaning to the right, which could mean that I may have a broken suspension part or maybe a flat tire or whatnot. So that in mind, I'm going to do a 3-point of contact, open up my hood, and start inspecting my engine compartment. All right, I'm going to come over on this side, and I'm going to start inspecting my engine components. I'm going to start right here with my coolant reservoir. Coolant reservoir has to be properly mounted and secure, filled to the proper level. Make sure my cap is nice and tight and secure to fasten. Make sure that it's not leaking. Also, I'm going to check my rubber hoses. Make sure that all of my hoses and hose clamps are properly mounted and secure, not cracked, bent, or broken, and are properly mounted and secure. Next, this is my radiator mounts. I'm going to check all radiator mounts to make sure that they're properly mounted and secure. I'm going to check my fan shroud, make sure it's properly mounted and secure. And also, I'm going to check my fan blades to make sure my fan blades are not missing, not cracked, broken, and properly mounted and secure. Next, I have a water pump right here. I want to make sure my water pump is not cracked, broken, or missing. I want to make sure it's not leaking. I want to make sure that it is a belt-driven water pump. I want to make sure that my belt does not have more than 3/4 inch deflection. Also, while I'm checking my intake hoses, I want to check my turbocharger back here. Turbocharger cannot be cracked, broken, missing. It has to be properly mounted and secure. Doesn't have any visual signs of soot. Also, check the rest of my rubber hoses. Make sure that they're not dry rotted, not cracked, frail, and or leaking. Also, this is my fuel filter. Fuel filter is not leaking. And also, my fluid is not all the way at the top. And my fuel filter is not leaking any fluid. All right, so next I'm going to come around this way. I'm going to walk around to the driver's side. What I'm going to start checking the rest of my engine. I'm going to grab a towel out of here, a napkin, so that I can check my oil level. Check my dipstick, pull it all the way out. I'm going to wipe it down. I'm going to put it back in here again. And oil level has to be checked on a level surface. I want to make sure my oil is filled to the proper level and it's not beyond full. Also, I want to check my oil filler caps. I want to make sure my oil filler cap is properly secure. Make sure it's nice and tight. While I'm at it, I am going to check my alternator. Make sure it's not cracked, broken, or bent. I'm not missing any nuts or bolts. Check my alternator, it's belt driven. Make sure the belt doesn't have more than 3/4 inch deflection. And my belts are not dry rotted, ripped or torn. Also, all the way back here in the back there is my air compressor. I want to check, make sure my air compressor is not cracked, bent, or broken, and it's not leaking any air. Now, as I finish up checking all of my hoses, hose clamps, I want to make sure that they're properly mounted and secure. Hoses are not dry rotted. not frail, not damaged, not leaking. I'm going to start with my steering system. Check my steering shaft. Make sure my steering shaft is not bent or broken. Check my steering gearbox. Make sure it's properly mounted and secure. I'm going to check my pitman arm, my drag link, and my steering knuckle. Make sure that they are all securely fastened by a castle nut and Carter key. Castle nut and Carter key and all of them. And also my tie rod bar that goes from here, this steering knuckle, to the steering knuckle over there. I want to visually inspect it and make sure my castle nut and Carter key is intact, and make sure it's not cracked, bent, or broken. Also, I want to check any other electrical wirings, make sure that they're not frayed. Make sure they're not loose, like the wiring connecting on the back of my alternator. Next, I'm going to check my suspension system. I'm going to check the front suspension hanger. I want to check my rear leaf spring hanger. Make sure they're not cracked, bent, or broken. I'm going to check my U-bolts. U-bolts are right here. You can very barely see them, but I want to make sure my U-bolts are not missing, and also my shock properly mounted, secure, and not leaking any fluid or whatnot. Shocks leak fluid when they're bad. From there, I'm going to check my ABS brake line that's attached to my air brake hose. I want to check my brake hose, make sure it's not dry rotted, make sure it's connected, properly secured. I'm going to check my brake chamber, make sure my brake chamber, and also my clevis pin, slack adjuster, and my push rod. I want to make sure my push rod, when the wheels are chalked and the brakes are released, doesn't travel out over an inch. And I'm going to ask the camera person to focus right there. I'm going to press the brakes to make sure my push rod doesn't travel out past an inch. Okay, so it's not traveling out beyond an inch. Next, I'm going to check my brake lining, brake shoes, brake linings. They can't be less than 1/4 of an inch. Brake drums can't be cracked or broken, any grease. I'm going to check the inside of my rims, inside of my tires. Also, I'm going to check to make sure that my tires are wearing evenly, and they can't be less than 4/32 of an inch. I got my tread gauge. Why do I not have it in my hands? Because I've got it right here. I'm going to edit this out.